If you wanted a glass of water, you would go to the glass that is set aside for African people. They did not drink off the same cups as us.
They would say things like, how could he share a bed with me? Things like that I've got dirty blood.
I know now that it was actual fully blown racism.
Shalom everyone and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. Today is going to be a reaction to a video that came out 2 days ago titled "My Husband's Family Hated Me for Being Black." So this couple is based in South Africa and I'll show you a couple clips from the video just to paint a picture, and then I will give you my commentary at the end.
We met at church.
I remember asking her to sing me a song that I did not know, and that is how I got your number. We were in band together.
Yeah, we were volunteering and all of that, but not paying attention
We really
to each
didn't.
other.
Yeah.
And then for whatever reason, we spoke, and then
And
was history.
It was a disagreement on that day, which was the 2nd of January.
So when little boys at school like pick on a girl, that's what he was doing. So he was being sarcastic. I was like doing my own thing, staying in my lane. And then eventually he messaged me, and since then we never stopped talking.
I officially asked her out March 17th
In 2017.
in 2017.
Yes.
6 months later, I proposed to her in October. And then
6 months later, we
6
got
months later, we got married to the date that I asked her out on the 17th of March. And then 6 months later, we fell pregnant. I come from a very staunch, 100% pedigree Indian bloodline. I am the first of my kind to step out of the bloodline to marry outside of an Indian custom. It was very difficult for me to navigate their thoughts, also knowing full well growing up that they did not like African people. Although we lived in an African-dominated area, but the mere fact that African person never slept in our house, was never part of our bloodline or our relationships. I didn't hide the fact that Pam was of African descent or that she was colored or mixed race. I just didn't tell them. I don't see the need to tell them because I didn't see race. I speak fluent Zulu and some Xhosa, which for me, I don't see it. I don't wake up in the morning and I'm shocked. Wait, I've got an African woman across my bed. I don't get shocked. It's not that I hid Pam away. I took her the very next month after us dating, but I just didn't tell them that Pam was black. Like, it didn't make a difference to me, to the point where my mom called me and said to me that she's black. I'm like, yeah, yeah. I'm not surprised, but she's Pam. I introduced you to Pam, not that Pam was black. That was never part of the question. You want to know who I'm dating? I'm dating Pam. That's it.
I myself had not experienced any kind of racism or discrimination for as long as I've been alive, My family has all sorts of colors in it. My mother is colored and black, so color never occurred to me. So it gave me tough skin. To meet his family, I came in open-hearted. I was excited to meet everyone. Yes, of course, I wasn't oblivious to the fact that there may be some backlash. But I think what caught me off guard is the intensity of that backlash when I was in the family now.
My family had separate cutlery, crockery, plates, cups that they had kept underneath the kitchen sink in case an African person asked them for something. If you wanted a glass of water, you would go to the glass that is set aside for African people. They did not drink off the same cups as us. We do not dish food for African people in our plates that we will eat. Why, I'm not 100% sure of. But I know now Back then, I did not know why, nor did I care to understand it because I was still living under my parents' roof and under their regime. But when I was able to identify for myself, I know now that it was actual fully blown racism. And it's disgusting to think about that's how some people still behave today.
They would say things like, how could he share a bed with me? Things like that I've got dirty blood. It would be things like, why whenever I'm coming over, I'm just sitting down on the couch as opposed to serving and doing the dishes and, kind of insinuating that, Black people are associated with domestic work. I don't want it to just be about, oh, your family is so terrible. Yes, terrible things have been said, but I think the majority of the time, especially from like your siblings, I've been welcomed, I've been accepted. It's not everyone. I've never had a situation, I'm just saying like outside of the family, etc. The most we've received is like stares, because
And confusion.
our children look so different. When Jordan is just walking with Sebs, it's like you can see people try to make the connection like, oh, okay. Or if I'm walking with Luca, people are like, oh, what's happening there? But I can't say it affected me, to be honest. It hasn't. But I feel like, again, what I had to learn very quickly when I did fall pregnant for the first time, I think everybody was surprised when Jordan came. Jordan is our daughter. She was very light. So, and it was a shock even to me.
Like when I saw that, I was like,
And then I felt, but at the same time, we laugh now, but it's also kind of sad because it's like when she came, everybody was able, or should I say his family was able to like take a breath, like, oh, but it wasn't like the type of breath that I would appreciate.
I have a fear about raising my daughter and son. I have a fear having Jordan, who is much lighter skinned than I am, a beautiful mixed colored race baby, and I'm Indian and have to walk with her in a public space, and the way people look at me. Yes, she can call me dad, which is fine, great, but at this point, anyone thinks anyone could call anyone dad. But that's my fear for Jordan. For Luca, on the other hand, with Pam, we've had cases where people will just do this.
Because you'll be like, and Luca, to paint a picture, is exactly like, you can take me out of the picture, you wouldn't know that I was his mother, you wouldn't.
The copy and paste
So
me.
when they call out to us in public, like people will be like, look at me, look at him, look at me.
And they want another relation. So that's my fear also, is that sometimes people are going to assume the wrong things.
Now, jumping into the video, one thing that stood out to me is that you never hear how her family responded to everything she was going through. And it makes you wonder, were they even aware of how openly racist her husband's relatives were? Because from what they shared, they started dating in March, got engaged by October, and then were married the following March, which is a short time. So it just makes you wonder, when she opened up, if she did, about how racist his family was, what did her parents or elders say, and what was their counsel? And I say that because from everything that I have researched about African traditions, especially when weddings are done the traditional way, there's a strong emphasis on the in-laws showing respect not only to the daughter but also to her family and their culture. I mean, isn't that the bare minimum? Because imagine telling your family that you're about to marry into a deeply racist family and the wedding still goes on a couple months later. It's crazy to think that her family did not intervene, did not speak up in some way, because if they didn't, then that silence or lack of resistance is what would have made his family more comfortable being so boldly racist towards her. Now, on to my second point. I honestly think that Black people who date, marry, and have children outside of their race can be either very naive or very selfish. And I say that because imagine the kind of racism that their children might face, especially from family members like her husband who don't care to hide how they feel about their mother, right? And the crazy part is that she knew early on what she was getting into, but she didn't turn away, she didn't care. So it's a choice to still put yourself through that and also put your children through that as well. Which is why I say it's very selfish. And the only way someone could accept being treated like this is if they're dealing with low self-esteem or some kind of self-hate. Seeing this woman, she just seems like one of those Black women that deal with self-hate, and which is why she intentionally married and procreated outside of her race, because she probably did want those mixed race children. At one point, her husband refers to her as mixed race and coloured. And then she also mentioned how she comes from a family of different colours and how her mum is coloured and Black. It's just when seeing her mother, right? Like, I know in South Africa, a lot of people have mixed roots, but it's just interesting how quick some people are to grab onto something that makes them feel different. It's like they're trying to escape the badge of being seen as fully Black. This is why it's so important that we know who we are as Israelites and that we appreciate who the Most High has made us to be. The Most High has said that He's put us above all nations, that we are His chosen people, that we are supposed to be set apart, we are peculiar, we are the royal nation. And when you understand and accept this, you should have more love for yourself and for your people. For instance, growing up, I've met Black people that looked fully Black, but they would go out their way to tell you that they had a white great-great-grandfather or grandmother that they'd never even met, just because they didn't want you to think that they were fully Black or they'd want to be called mixed race. And I've noticed this pattern no matter where we are. So like in America, many of our people will proudly claim to have Indian blood. Now, I'm not saying that they don't, but often when they mention it, it's like to explain why they have better hair or some other trait. Cherokee is usually the tribe that they mention. Or take the Caribbean, like in Jamaica, people will proudly talk about being coolie or having some Chinese ancestry, but our people need to stop this. We need to stop glorifying the tiny drops of non-Black heritage and instead hold on to our true identity as Israelites and love your Black skin. Appreciate whatever complexion the Most High has given you, but most importantly, appreciate your Black heritage. You shouldn't be boasting that you have non-Black heritage as if it makes you special or better than those that don't. And this is why it's so important that we know who we are, because it's funny how when we come to the truth and we learn that we are Israelites, that all of a sudden everyone's claiming to have 100% Israelite, 100% Black on their father's side all the way back to the times of Noah. And even though I don't believe that's true, because it's impossible to preserve a bloodline for thousands of years, and especially knowing how Israelites like to mix with the other nations, but you can see now we have a sense of pride in our lineage. Even her husband calls himself a 100% pure blood pedigree Indian, which if you know the history of India is just impossible. So when I see this woman intentionally ignoring all the red flags from the get-go, I just know that this is something that I've seen before. It will happen again, unfortunately. And it's just the behavior of naive and selfish individuals. Moving on to my next point, one of the reasons why I say that when Black people partake in interracial relationships, it's rarely out of love, but more so out of self-hate. And the Bible even speaks about this, because if you read Tobit chapter 4 and verses 12 and 13, it's very clear that marrying out of your race is self-hatred. When you read those verses, it's a father instructing his son, warning him, telling him, beware of whoredom and marry amongst your own people. Don't hate your own people by not marrying one of our own, just the same way our forefathers married amongst themselves. We have always married amongst our own, so you have to do the same thing. That's the message that he gives his son. And this commandment is given to the Israelites throughout the scriptures to warn them against interracial marriage and procreating outside of our nation. And we can see this in the book of Deuteronomy, Nehemiah, and others that I will put on the screen as well. I've heard about how racist Indians are in South Africa. just like the racism that comes from white people and even the Chinese community over there. So it really makes you think, how are you going to live in a country where all these other nations dominate and oppress you, and then you turn around and choose to be with one of them? Which is why everything that she's going through, all the racism, is judgment for her actions. The Most High warns the Israelites and says, if you want to make marriages with these other nations, he's going to punish us. And we see that in the book of Joshua, chapter 23, verses 12 and 13. Else if ye do in any wise go back and cleave unto the remnant of these nations, even these that remain among you, and shall make marriages with them, and go in unto them, and they to you, know for a certainty that the Lord your God will no more drive out any of these nations from before you, but they shall be snares and traps unto you, and scourges in your sides, and thorns in your eyes, until ye perish from off this good land which the Lord your God hath given you. This right here is the chapter before the prophet Joshua dies, and this is part of his closing speech, trying to let the Israelites know, listen guys, we've been through a lot. We've left Egypt, we've gone to new land, we've had to conquer these other nations around us. If now, when I'm no longer with you, you want to go and cleave to these other nations around us, just know that the Most High is not going to protect you, but he will use those Gentiles to punish you. So the Israelites knew very well that they were not supposed to mix amongst the other nations. But guess what? They still did it. They still mixed with the other nations around them. Of course, not all of them, but a lot of them did. Now, shifting the focus toward the husband, just hearing how he was raised is a major red flag, and she should have seen that. He said that his family hated African people and even used separate cutlery for them. And what makes it worse is that they were living in South Africa, right there amongst the people, yet treated them with such blatant disrespect. Like, if they hated being in South Africa so much, why didn't they just go back to India? It would be so unheard of if it was the other way around, if it was her family treating his family like that or treating him like that. But hearing it the other way around, hearing the way his family treated her and just other South Africans is no surprise. And what's interesting is seeing how people do acknowledge in the comment section how many Indians are racist towards South Africans. So clearly all of this interracial dating is not helping the issue. Which is why I say again, people like this woman deal with self-hate. Nobody that actually loves themselves will put themselves through this situation. And also when you see in the comment section, a lot of people are praising the husband more than they're condemning his family, which is just crazy. Also, I don't remember them mentioning anything much about their faith other than the fact that they met in a church, which makes me think that they're either lukewarm or not really practicing Christians. But it would be interesting to know if his family were Christians, and if so, how they could go to church and still be racist and claim to be good Christians and sit there and be disgusted by the Most High's true chosen people. That will be interesting to know, especially if they attended the same church. This man said that growing up, he didn't really try to make sense of all of the racism and hatred toward Black people that his parents demonstrated. He just accepted it, and the woman just sat there and smiled. He said it wasn't until he was older that he finally realized it was wrong. You see, what Israelites, which are so-called Black people, need to realize is that other nations teach and raise their kids very differently to the way most of our people raise and teach their own children. Despite all of the disrespect, racism, oppression that we face from other nations, people will raise their children to make them think that color doesn't matter and that it doesn't matter who you marry or have children with. They don't like to teach their children that they need to make sure that we love our own people, or that you don't go out there trying to be accepted by people that hate you. And it's not about teaching a message of hate the way his parents did. It's about teaching the right thing. It's about teaching our children how to show love to one another, how to appreciate one another, and how to not be blind of how the enemy views us. And most importantly, of how the Most High is instructing us on how to live. The fact that he said it wasn't until he was older that he finally realized it was wrong is another very concerning element, because he probably heard all sorts of horrible things that his parents said and his family members said, and probably just shrugged it off like, oh well. And you see, it took him until adulthood to realize that even though he was living right there in South Africa, he wasn't in India, he was in Africa. And it took him forever to come to that conclusion. I mean, honestly, he does seem a bit slow, in my opinion. And he seems a bit, if you know, you know. And I'll put something up on the screen, because I was wondering the whole time, sis is missing so many flags here. So many red flags. His posture and mannerisms were just doing too much. And if you have discernment, you can notice these things. On top of that, it doesn't sound like he even had the decency to warn his wife about how racist his family really was. So she might have even been thrown into the deep end, walk into that toxic environment without any real insight into how his family truly feels about her people. Because she even mentions how she didn't realize the intensity of the backlash that she would feel in regards to them having children. When the husband mentions how stupid he finds racism because him and his wife are practically of a, let's just say, a very similar skin complexion, what people don't realize is that amongst Indians, they have a insane classism thing going on. Like, they care so much about what class you're ranked in, and then on top of that, I believe skin tone plays a big impact into that as well. So if they already believe that black people are beneath them, the fact that they don't respect black people, your skin color, even if she was 5 shades lighter, it wouldn't help her situation, because they don't respect, they have no regard for black people. I'll end on this note. No matter what year it is, interracial dating will never be fully accepted. And that's because people naturally like to be amongst their own people. He even ends by saying how he fears how to raise their children. And I guarantee that neither of them would have these fears if they married and had children within their own community. And they both even mentioned how people stare at them with such confusion when they see them out with their children. The Most High is not the author of confusion. Neither does he want any situations like this to take place. The reality is the two of them should not be together. But in situations like these, people always seem to forget about what the children are going through and how all of this confusion will have an impact on them. And for those who are indoctrinated and still believe and continue to say that South Africa is a rainbow nation and that they don't see color there, if this isn't proof that that's not true, then I don't know what is. Thanks for all those that watched the video till the end. If you liked it, make sure to give it a thumbs up and let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Yah willing, I will see you in the next video soon. Yah bless.